ArcelorMittal South Africa and trade union Numsa have agreed to a 3-year wage deal to be binding on permanent employees in Newcastle, Vanderbijlpark, and Pretoria, Durban, Richards Bay and Saldanha. Numsa Sedibeng Secretary Kabelo Ramokhathali joins us now for more on this. Kabelo, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Just the other day, I think it was the 5th of April, you were saying you were on the verge of a mother of all strikes, but it seems now, after the dispute resolution process, you have averted that costly strike. How easy was this conflict resolution process? Would you say this is an easy victory?
Good evening, Tawa and the listeners. You are not clear. I don't know if it is on my side, but I'm trying to...
Yeah. Okay, I'll repeat for you. I'm saying on the 5th of April, you were saying that you could possibly be going on a mother of all strikes, but you seem to have averted that costly strike. Was the dispute resolution process an easy one? Would you say this is an easy victory for you?
Yeah, no. Thank you very much for having me, and good evening to you and the listeners. No, I can't say it was an easy wage negotiations, because it was actually confronted with the challenges, especially from the ArcelorMittal. As you know, that ArcelorMittal is a company that has been listed in the stock exchange, and you can view their financial statement there. It did not perform well for the past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And they presented their financial statement. Hence, I'm saying it was not easy wage negotiations, taking into account the list of demands that we have submitted as an organized labor. And I'm saying Numsa and Solidarity in particular. So it was not an easy wage negotiations. But the attitude, when we started the wage negotiations, our attitude was that historically Numsa and AMSA, we normally concluded our agreement outside the wage negotiations, even after the dispute resolutions, meaning that there's an internal dispute resolution, including when we take the matter to CDR, MIBC, meaning that the commissioner will have to conciliate the matter. But still, we will not find each other. And then only when we are in the strike around, after 2 weeks, we'll be able to settle our strike. And then therefore, in these wage negotiations, it did not happen because as parties, not only as organized labor, but also ArcelorMittal, we caution and reprimand ourselves of our immediate task, because our task in the wage negotiation is to find amicable solution.
Right.
We cannot take every time our members on the street, because in the last 2 years, our members have been on the street. They have been fighting the employer, exercising their constitutional rights. Yeah. But this time around, we were also taken to a task by our members to say, no, go and negotiate, and we want you to secure a deal for us. So apply your mind, apply your skill as the negotiators. We have confidence in you. So including ArcelorMittal, that was the same spirit, that we want to settle this outside. I mean, without even going on the industrial action.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you did manage to settle without actually going on that industrial action, and in record time. So tell me, how did you avoid the temptation of extreme demands? I mean, at some point, I think you were saying 15%. The employer was saying 5%, but they went up and said 6%. Did the employer somehow present to you an alternative proposal that met the needs of all your members?
Okay, I must indicate that when we submitted our demands for the first time in the wage negotiations, and not only in AMSA or ArcelorMittal, but in every sector that we are organizing, it was for the first time when we realized that the employer also has submitted, instead of responding to our demands, he submitted a list of demands that they want to actually align gradings of salaries of our members into a market related, and meaning that they actually alleging that they are paying more than the national minimum wage, including other agreements in the engineering sector. And also, they also wanted to reduce some of the hard-won gains of our members, like your retention allowance and the other allowances, guarantee allowances. So that was a stumbling block for us to negotiate, because in the first meeting after we presented our demands, they also presented their demands. They did not even move an inch or attempt to respond to our demands. Hence, we said to them, if that is the case, then it means they are not willing to negotiate with us, and then we actually cautioned them that the purpose of the wage negotiations is to improve the conditions of the employees or workers, and not to reduce. If they want to reduce the conditions and the benefits of the employees, they must look other, or they must refer those issues to other forums. So that was a stumbling block. But because we cautioned them, also to remind them that as Numsa we're ready, fighting, if management does not want to listen to us, and we're not being unreasonable by putting a 15%. 15% to us, because we did not view financial information or financial statement of performance of ArcelorMittal. We put that, but during the wage negotiations, when we noticed that AMSA was not performing, we had to go back to our members and say, look, we don't want to apply or approach this wage negotiation, as the Chinese bargaining. We want to secure a deal for you, and then management, we think that both management and organized labor must be reasonable. We must not only talk about 15% if we can justify 15%. But obviously, management wanted us to motivate. We did motivate why we want 15%, and they also disclosed their financial information or statements or performance. And then that's where we then said, no, our fallback position, even though we did not disclose to management, is around 6%. Now, when we use our tactics and strategies, we ended up actually securing 6.5%. It was not only 6.5%, because medical aid as well, we managed to get at least 10%, 5% for next year, and then another 5% for the third year, which now the members on the third year, they will only contribute 30%, and the employer will contribute 70%. There's also one we call a paternity leave, from 9 days to 12 days, and then the funeral benefit from 10,000 to 20,000. Right. Yeah, including the 10,000 as a handshake. And this is what the employer wanted to know: why do we want 10%? 10,000 as a excatia payment or a golden handshake. And then they said, no, this is the wage negotiations. It's not like it's a retrenchment. And then we said, no, that 10,000 is actually buying, because our demand was only 1 year. And then if you want us to move to 3 years, wage increase, then obviously we'll then have to buy that. And then that's where we secured 10,000 rand for each member.
What other contingencies did you structure in? Are we going to look down the road 3 months from here and here of retrenchments? What other contingencies did you factor in for the future differences?
No, look, I think we have considered those, because this is what we said. We could even reject that 6.5% and other benefits, and then demand more than that. But because of, we know historical, AMSA have been embarking on the retrenchment, Section 189A, and then recently they closed down the Pretoria. You remember that Saldanha as well was closed. And then also in Vereeniging, they are also closing some of their plants. And the reason is not because they are paying more, it is because of the demand in the steel industry. It's actually declining, and then it's also impacted by this decision which was taken by our government to actually allow China to dump steel in South Africa. So we are no longer a manufacturing country. We are only assembling steel. So that is the impact. So we taking that into account. So we can't guarantee that Numsa will not embark on the industrial action. I mean, in the Section 189 process. But I think from our discussion, we have agreed that AMSA should not embark on Section 189, because that also our members can still defend their jobs by embarking on the industrial action, because they are allowed to embark on the industrial action in fighting this Section 189. But here we are not only talking about the benefits, but we are also talking about the sustainability of the company, because the relationship has to continue beyond these wage negotiations. As we approach this negotiation professional, we listen to each other, we motivate, we persuade each other. And it was for the first time in Numsa and ArcelorMittal history that the parties could reach a settlement agreement outside, I mean, or before even going to an industrial action.
Yeah. Is there something that you think we could learn from this, particularly in the economic environment that we are in, where, for example, something as a mother of all strikes in the metal sector would be something that we do not need right now? And the fact that you were able to do this in record time without going to a strike is certainly a positive. Is there something that we could learn from how these particular negotiations were approached?
I think what is key in this, or what we have learned as organized labor, is that when you go to the wage negotiations, obviously you have to do some research before you can even embark on the industrial action. Gather the demands from your members, and also analyze those demands and advise your members. And then from there, you can then tackle the problem, which is now the employer. And then the employer as well, when they respond to a union or an organizer of workers' demands, they must not be negative in terms of those demands. If you say 15% and they said, no, we can't, this is unreasonable, I think you need just to justify. And then after you justify, the employer must also be open, transparent. I think that is the most key issue here. We need to be transparent in the wage negotiations. We must respect each other. And if there's a facilitator, we must allow the facilitator also to play its role. You should not, because they don't have powers to instruct or even order the parties to accept or reject. But here we are saying we need to be guided by those facilitators, because they have role in the wage negotiations. So the respect and that's what actually happened, because we did not work as enemies. We don't view employer as an enemy. We understand that before the members can become members of the trade union, they had a relationship before as the employer-employees relationship. So us as officials of the union is to cement and also make sure that relationship lasts long, and then by advising our members, because we don't want our members to lose their jobs. They can go on a strike and then demand 15% and get 15%. After that, employer actually respond by Section 189. They will not even enjoy that 15%. So here it is about the respect and also being reasonable in demand. So if the employer can afford 10%, he must say so. Yeah. 10% is only that I can afford.
All right.
So that's basically the learning curve that we learn as a organized labor.
Kabelo, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. That's Numsa Sedibeng Secretary Kabelo Ramokhathali.